Estamos listos.
Perfecto. Bueno, muy buenos días para todos y todas. Bienvenidos. Muchas gracias por participar de este webinar que, bueno, estamos organizando junto al INE de Chile y a CEPAL o ECLAC una serie de webinars sobre censos basados en registros administrativos. Y en el día de hoy, en este primer webinar de este ciclo, tenemos el gusto de contar con colegas de la Oficina de Estadística de Lituania, que nos van a estar contando sobre su censo basado en registros y la transición que hicieron desde un censo combinado hasta llegar a este censo por, por registros. En el día de hoy nos acompaña Milda Slikute Sestokiene, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, que es asesora de la División de Estadísticas de Población de la Agencia Lituana de Datos o la Oficina Nacional de Estadística de Lituania. Milda tiene más de 20 años de experiencia en estadísticas sociales, con la integración de diferentes datos administrativos para la producción de estadísticas oficiales. Desde 2016, ella ha sido responsable de la coordinación del trabajo metodológico relacionado con el censo basado en registros, coordinación de la creación y mejora de algoritmos para la estimación de las variables del censo basadas en diferentes fuentes administrativas, temas de confidencialidad de datos y gestión de la calidad de datos. Um, I'm going to switch to English. Thank you very much, Milda, for to be here presenting Statistics Lithuania experience. It is very valuable for us. Um, and thank you very much for your time and for sharing your valuable experience. Um, you you will have around 15 minutes, and then we will have at the end of your presentation we will have time for questions and answer from the participants. And I also explain a little bit how to use the translation into Spanish. Para aquellos participantes que quieran utilizar la traducción automática al español, estamos utilizando una aplicación que la pueden encontrar en el chat, ¿sí? Ahí tienen un documento que explica cómo usar esa traducción automática. Ahí van a encontrar la transcripción y también el audio en español. Tiene que seguir ese instructivo. Le recomendamos utilizar un teléfono celular, así tienen el audio diferenciado, el audio original que lo estamos transmitiendo por esta plataforma de Zoom, y el audio en español a través de la aplicación Translator de Microsoft que pueden acceder a una página web en su celular. Ahí van a encontrar también el código para acceder a esa traducción. Y bueno, luego las preguntas las vamos a ir recolectando a través del chat. em, eh, bueno, y al finalizar, como decíamos, la presentación de Milda, vamos a estar formulando esas preguntas, o respondiendo a esas preguntas. Gracias. Um, So, thank you, Milda. The floor is yours. Uh, Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I guess you can hear me now, yes?
Yes,
But
perfect.
you
Thank
probably
you.
don't see the screen or your slides, or you see the slides?
We are seeing, yeah, yes, now, yes.
Okay.
We,
Okay, so thank you
perfect.
very much for this opportunity to share our experience. My name is Milda. I am working in Statistics Lithuania for about 20 years. I worked in different divisions of Statistics Lithuania, but always with administrative data sources. And during last 7 years, I'm responsible for population and housing census in Lithuania. Do I need to wait for translation, or I can just proceed?
Perfect.
Okay. So, and the content of my presentation today will be, I'll talk a little bit about the history of Lithuanian census. Then I'll describe how profile of census in Lithuania changed. I also described a little bit our state and statistical population registers, which is key registers for social statistics. And also I'll talk a little bit more about our register-based census 2021 and also some concluding remarks. So first of all, about the history of Lithuanian census. Are slides changing? Everything okay? Is slides changing?
We're seeing history of Lithuanian census.
Okay, so then it's changing. Okay. So first of all, geographically speaking, Lithuania are in the very center of European continent. So we also have a point discovered by scientists which says that this point is center of European continent. And here you can see a monument marking this point. This point is very close to our capital city, Vilnius. And also we are one of the smallest countries in European Union with population of 3.9 million. Ethnically speaking, most of our population are Lithuanians. Currently it's 82% of Lithuanians. We have due to historical reasons, we have two major ethnical minorities, which is Polish and Russians. And of course, during the war in Ukraine, currently we have bigger population of Ukrainians, about 2%, and about 2% of Belarusian people.
So sorry,
yes.
Milda, but your presentation is this cut. We can see just a part of your slides.
Part of my slides?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Maybe I'll try to share once more.
Okay.
It was okay?
Okay. No,
do you see whole slide or only part of it?
No, just part of it. When you use the presentation button, I don't know why, but the screen, yeah, we cannot see the
now
full.
it's okay?
Now we can see the PowerPoint presentation the full, I mean the PowerPoint application and in full screen. But when you press the presentation mode,
yes,
you just see a part of it.
Okay, but now it's okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll proceed with.
Yeah, maybe you can use the zoom button option to see it bigger.
Just a minute.
No, I mean the zoom, not the zoom application, to make a zoom in PowerPoint to see it bigger.
Maybe I'll try to stop sharing and
Okay,
share
okay.
once again. Just
Okay.
Is it better now?
Yes, we can see the full screen.
And now?
Let's see. This. No, we can see
No.
the same
Okay. So
screen.
this is okay, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Do I need to use Zoom?
No, I think it is fine. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So about the history of Lithuanian census, Lithuania has one of the oldest censuses in Europe. So first our census was done in 1528. But of course, during those times, it was not a real census, but it was more like to count men suitable for war. What we call our first census in the Republic of Lithuania is 1923. So last year we celebrated 100 years from our first census. And after that follow different periods of history. And currently what we can talk and compare our results is 3 last censuses, 2001, 2011, and 2021. So those censuses were done under recommendations of United Nations, and all those data are available at micro level, and we can compare those data. And all those 3 censuses were pretty much very different. So now I'll describe how different those censuses was. So census 2001 was completely traditional census. We used paper questionnaires, and we visited with those paper questionnaires all our population. The main, no administrative data were used. Yes, and the main goal in 2001 was to comply with United Nations recommendations and with European Union regulations, because censuses before was not complied with those recommendations. So no administrative data were used, but the data of collected during the census was used to check the quality of our population register, which was under development then. And what we found after census 2001, that we couldn't connect about 50% of our population with population register. It was mainly because population register was not complete at the time. Not all people were in the register, and of course also because of mistakes in register and also in census. This census was very huge and very expensive, and about 14 employees were involved in doing the census. Census 2011 was a little bit different. It was combined approach was used, and we used some administrative data sources. So first of all, we did residents were able to fill in electronic questionnaire, and about 34% of our population filled in this electronic questionnaire. It was a huge campaign trying to encourage people to take part in this electronic questionnaire so that we could save state resources. And also our current president of Republic of Lithuania became the first participant of electronic census and invited all residents of Lithuania to participate. The rest of the population who did not participate in not fill in electronic questionnaire were visited at home by enumerators. At that time, we also used paper questionnaires, and we derived some data from administrative data sources. So those data from administrative data sources were pre-filled for electronic questionnaires, and people were able to check data pre-filled and to correct the data if they needed. Also, we used administrative data for editing purposes, and also non-response rate in census 2011 was about 5%. So the imputation of those missing people were done on the basis of administrative data sources. About 6,000 employees were involved, so twice as little as in census before, but still it was a huge burden. So census 2021 was completely register-based, no field work was done. And I would say that preparation for this register-based census started immediately after 2011. So we took 10 years to prepare for register-based census. And also we did 2 pilot censuses. Was done in 2019, and we were mainly testing the systems. So that means how administrative data are connected, how system is working, is everything okay? And after testing the system, we tested algorithm of variables for census. So it was second pilot register-based census. Total 5 employees were involved. I wouldn't say that it's enough, but it is how it was done. And later on, we plan to have annual census variables, probably after 2026, but we are still preparing to have annual census variables. Some words about our population register. So I want to say that we have, when we talk about population register, we have 2 registers. So one is state population register and another one is statistical population register, which was started to create recently. So talking about our state population register, it was established in 1992. And that was the year when first person got Lithuanian passport, Lithuanian citizenship, Lithuanian identification number, and was entered into our population register database. So it really took decades to register all our people and to make our population register complete. Important step was in 2002 when all children under 16 years age old were assigned a personal code so that we could register our children and to be able to understand how many children we have and how many schools in which regions we need. So after 2002, maybe population register became more complete. And at the beginning, the development and coordination of population register was entrusted for Statistics Lithuania. So Statistics Lithuania was responsible for development of this register, but later on it was transferred to State Enterprise Center of Registers. And currently Center of Registers is responsible for maintaining this and also some other registers in Lithuania. So the main content of what is in our population register. So we include, in principle, I can say that we include on all people who is somehow connected to Lithuania. So first of all, citizens of Republic of Lithuania, then those who declaring their place of residence in Lithuania, also those who changes their civil status and reported to Lithuanian authorities, and people working in Lithuania, doing business in Lithuania, buying real estate, and all the others somehow connected to the country. Key variables which are included in our population register is, I guess it's pretty usual situation. We include all key information like name, sex, date of birth, place of birth, relationship between children and parents, citizenship, declared place of residence, information about marriages, ethnicity, and documents, passport and identification cards. About statistical population register is pretty new in Lithuania. It's still very much under development, but the key idea is to combine all administrative data sources into one register so that we could produce our statistics from this one combined statistical population register. So currently we produce from this statistical population register demographic statistics and migration statistics, but we also plan to extend it and to use it also for other statistical surveys. And the key points for current development is to integrate science of life method into our statistical population register. Also, the idea is to use it for sampling, for construction of sampling frames for better coherence with other surveys. And later on, we also plan to create statistical household and families register, so that to have family and household composition. Here is the current schema of our statistical population register. So in principle, the idea is pretty simple. We have a lot of tables coming from different sources. Those data are cleaned, transformed, and then we produce cleaned micro-level data. And after that, we produce aggregated tables, and those aggregated tables goes directly to our database. About current register-based census 2021. So at the beginning, we thought that we could use for our population census, we could use 34 administrative data sources. So that after reading all the descriptions of those administrative sources, it looked like they could be suitable, but after thorough analysis of quality of those administrative sources, only 19 administrative sources were chosen for real census 2021, and mainly for quality reasons, because a lot of our registers are pretty new, not mature enough maybe. But wide usage also of administrative data sources is one of top priorities of Statistics Lithuania, and currently about 42% of our results published in Statistics Lithuania are based on administrative data sources. And total, we have 182 administrative data sets at micro level, and also about 155 administrative data sets at the aggregated level. Here is a list of administrative data sources which was used for census 2021, those 19 administrative data sources. I would say that key administrative data sources is population register, real property register, where all buildings are registered, and also address register. But also other registers is also pretty important, and census without those other registers would not be possible. So that is social insurance database, national health insurance fund, labor exchange data, taxpayers register, information system, farmers register, students register, pupils register, suspected and accused people register, social family support information system, and so on. And here is the difference between population in our population register and in what is published by Statistics Lithuania. So actually, we have pretty big difference between those people who declare the place of residence in Lithuania in population register and those who we count as usual residents. Because the problem is that Lithuania is a country of high immigration, and a lot of people are in our population register, but they don't actually live in Lithuania. So we are not like Scandinavian countries who can rely completely on population register and don't do any calculations. So we, for that reason, we need Science of Life and all the other 19 administrative data sources. In our population register, we have 8.5% more people than we publish as usual residents in Lithuania. But if we look in some certain groups, this difference is actually huge. For example, in the age group 30-39, we see that difference between population register and usual residents who actually live in Lithuania is almost 20%. And if we go into more details, like distinguish between rural areas and cities, this difference can be extremely big. So we certainly can't publish our population register data as usual residents of the country. And for that, we need all those administrative data sources to decide who actually lives in Lithuania and who not. Here is how do we define usual residents from register. So first of all, I have to say that a person is counted as usual resident if he or she declares a place of residence in Lithuania, so appears in population register, and also shows Science of Life in 2 different registers. But after that, a number of exceptions are applied, and those exceptions, here is only a few examples because the list of those exceptions is pretty big, and it depends on different situations, but I just put some examples what we take into account. For example, we take into account citizenship and occupation because, let's say, Lithuania is, well, because we are between Europe and Asia, we have a lot of transit enterprises. That means that a lot of companies who bring goods from Europe to, let's say, Kazakhstan, for example, it's a company who brings wine from Italy to Kazakhstan. And we have a lot of truck drivers from non-European Union countries. And that means that in order to work in Lithuania, those drivers from outside European Union have to declare place of residence in Lithuania if they want to work in Lithuanian company. But they go for let's say, from Italy to Kazakhstan, they spend on the road 2 weeks or months, and they get, after that, they come to Lithuania, leave the truck and go to their home country, to Belarus or Ukraine, let's say, and they never live in Lithuania. So we somehow have to decide who is actually living in Lithuania and who is not. Also, as I mentioned, Lithuania is a country of high immigration, and we have a lot of children born abroad who has Lithuanian citizenship because one of the parents has Lithuanian citizenship. And a lot of them declare the place of residence in Lithuania, actually, because they have the right, but they don't live in Lithuania. So when children are born abroad, we use more administrative data sources to check if he actually living in Lithuania or not. Also, we take family situation into account, like if a child is usual resident, then mother gets also more chances to become a usual resident. And if one family member is a foreigner who never registered place of residence in Lithuania, then higher probability that the whole family is not usual residents. So, as I mentioned, we have a set of those simple rules. I didn't translate them. I didn't explain them in very detail because it's actually very country specific. It depends on situation, and we also currently reviewing those rules and changing maybe it. I also want to say that we had done no any modeling for our science of life method, but currently we are analyzing and some models that maybe we could, instead of using those set of rules, maybe we could use some models. For construction of families, so we have, let's say, two types of families. That is those who are legally married. Those are easy because they are in our population register. All marriages and children are in our population register. So married couples could be collected pretty easily from our population register. But in order to construct families, we also need cohabiting partners, and that is more difficult. And this is actually currently what needs revision. But how we done it in our census 21, we checked those people who are living alone, two opposite sex people who are living alone in address were counted as cohabiting partners. Also, those who were buying a house together has common loans and have common children counted as cohabiting partners. About how did we define place of usual residence from registered? So here I have to say that in Lithuania, people are obliged to declare the place of residence, but they are not obliged to live in this address. So, and besides of that, we have a lot of incentive to declare the place of residence in Bronk address, like possibility to attend certain school. Also, social benefits are different in different municipalities. So it's pretty often that people declare a place of residence in some other address than they live. But nevertheless, our population register and declared place of residence is still the major variable for defining our usual place of residence. Sometimes we get critics for that, but the key point which we usually emphasize is that we should pay more attention to improve the quality of our population register to to stop doing those incentive for declaring address in wrong place. So we count that address of usual residence is equal to declared place of residence if housing unit is found at the declared address. And that means that about 80% of our population, the address is taken from population register. So the address which was declared in population register is actually where we populate them. But 20% of population get different address. And that's mainly because sometimes we don't find a housing unit under this address. Some of those addresses are not complete. So for that reason, we also put spouses and their children into one dwelling, because quite often people, members of one family declare a place in different addresses, but actually they live as a family in one address. Also, we check the property owned by people. For example, if father with a child declared place of residence in the property owned by the family, but mother with other child declared place of residence somewhere where they don't own the property, we put the family together in the property which they own, because usually it's because of school. People declare place of residence in wrong address. Also, we assigned, the tenant is assigned the address of the rental housing unit. Students who has not been able to assign housing is assigned to the address of educational institution. Convicted person gets the address of prison. Homeless person is assigned to the address of the shelter for homeless people, and so on. I have to say that, again, the rules, how we define address is pretty big. It's written about on 3 pages, but here I put only some main ideas, what we check. And we also have some population, not so much, it's about 1%. It's those who can, for whom we cannot assign an address according to rules. So for those people, we put them randomly into some empty address, but it's less than 1%. So for technical implementation of our census, we used the Oracle Data Integrator. It was outsourced, but currently we are moving to a new software. It's Palantir, and that's the main problem. It will be developed by staff of Statistics Lithuania, not outsourced anymore, and that's the main problem why we don't have annual census results yet. Because we actually need to change all our systems, because administrative data structures are changing constantly, and we can't. So Palantir is a new software which we'll be using. Also, I should mention that there are some variables which was important, which used to be collected in our censuses, which is required according to our national needs, but it's not available in administrative data sources. So for that reason, we did a separate survey. So we have 4 variables which we collected from the separate survey. It's mother tongue, languages spoken, and religion, and also ethnicity, which is actually partly available in administrative data sources, but we had to check it and collected it also from the survey. Some concluding remarks. So the nice thing that census budget compared to 2011 and 2021 is almost 5 times cheaper. But the nice thing is how the structure of the budget changed. So the nicest part for me is that before, of course, the biggest amount of our budget was devoted to interviewing population, to printing questionnaire, to entering data, to checking all those data. And currently we are able to put all our resources into data analytics, and that's the nice part. So that's what statistician, I guess, should do data analytics, but less collection. So that's all shortly about our census. Thank you very much. And please, if you have any questions, yeah.
Thank you very much, Milda. It was so clear and fantastic. Your presentation, yes, with several details. Yes, it is time for questions. Let me translate it to Spanish. Si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, por favor la puede formular a través del chat y se la trasladaremos a Milda. Yeah, in the meantime, I have a question for you. You know, the addresses is a big problem. On one hand, the problem is the standardization of the address, how to write, how to correctly write write down the name of the street or the structure of the address, and the number of the dwelling at the front door, etc., etc. I don't know how it is in Lithuania, but here in Latin America is a little bit complicated, mainly in rural areas, but also in urban areas. You don't have street names or numbers at the front door. Yeah, and in this regard, do you have some kind of system or platform for the whole institutions to assign a code to the address in terms of having these addresses standardized, and also with the possibility to use a code for record linkage to facilitate the record linkage? Thank you.
Yes, addresses was a big issue some time ago. Currently, the problem is solved, and mainly why the problem is solved is because of government decided to make to make it like that because mainly to register and all our addresses, because of, let's say, emergency things. For example, when you call to ambulance, you need to have good address in order ambulance to find you. So sometime, I don't know, our address register was established in 2004, I guess. It started to be created. So for census 2011, we still didn't have good address register. And after census, using also census results, we prepared our address register. So currently it's good. So the idea that currently all addresses has code in Lithuania, but also that hold for those people who are declaring the place of residence in Lithuania. For example, address register started to be good from 2014, And those people who declared place of residence before 2014, they are not connected to address register. So currently, when I declare my address, I am connected to address register, and program check if I am allowed, if it's existing address or not, if it's real address. So currently it's okay. But yes, we have a lot of people who declared place of residence long ago, and there is no building under this address, or this address is not actual anymore. But it's improving. So I guess that we don't have such a big problem as you do, because more or less, as I mentioned, about 80% of our population gets the address from population register. So that means that this address is good, it's with all the codes, it's connected very well. So, and for other people, we also have good address register, and we can check it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a question from the chat. You say during your presentation that you are using the usual place of residence, but you also use the concept of administrative residence, and if a person have different addresses or place of residence in different administrative registers, so you select one of them?
Not like that. Actually, what we have in Lithuania, we use only address only from one register, which is population register, and which is declared place of residence. We don't, and actually how it's done in Lithuania, because also some time ago, a lot of things depend on this declared address, like your taxes goes to this municipality where you declare address, and so on and so on. So all institutions in Lithuania also using this address from population register. So other institutions do not collect any more addresses. They used to collect before, but currently trying to save resources, do not allow for other institution to collect address, but they require to connect to population register and to take address from population register always. So we have only one register with addresses, which is population register, but yes, it's have a lot of shortcomings. It's not a lot of mistakes and some other problems, but it's only one register.
Okay, thank you. We have other question in the chat. It is written in English. I'm gonna read it. In Colombia, we struggle with structural racism, which has affected the last 3 national census results, particularly with Afro-Colombian population. One alternative is using auto-census made by own indigenous communities, but they lack of basic standards of statistical quality in order to include them into the official register. Are you an advice about how to address this problem?
But I don't really catch. The problem is that those people are not enumerated during the census, or
maybe Ivan from Colombia, can you jump in, open your mic and for clarification? Olga, no sé si podemos habilitar a Iván para que aclare su pregunta.
Yes, I guess that the problem is that those people, you can't find those people and enumerate them.
I think so. I think that they couldn't enumerate it during the traditional census. I think
Because
so.
maybe addresses are not known. Maybe they live in some places which are not registered. Maybe. Am I right? I just want to be sure that I'm answering the right question.
Yeah, Ivan says that he didn't have a mic. Yes,
Okay.
Under coverage of the register. He said, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. No, it's. I actually probably not a good person to answer this because
okay.
in Lithuania everyone are in the register. It's
Okay.
actually not possible to live in the country if you are not registered. If you are in Lithuania not in register, then you are a tourist.
Yeah.
But what our problem is that we don't know who actually lives in Lithuania because we have too many people and we need somehow to take them out because they declare a place of residence but they don't live here. So, but those people which are missing in the register, yes, we have in 2001, and we did traditional census.
Okay, we have other question from Marcela on the chat. She said that do you have some kind of register for people who live on the street? I mean, they don't have a dwelling, so or you conducted some kind of census or a specific operation for them? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. For homeless people, we contact shelters for homeless people. We have such in Lithuania, but also I have to say that because of pretty, let's say, the homeless people is not popular in Lithuania because we have pretty strong winters actually. So it's not really during the summertime, of course, you can stay outside, but during the winter times, it's not possible. And also we have a network of shelters for homeless where people can come and stay. So we collect data from those shelters because you can't just come and sleep in those shelters. You need to be registered with passport in order to get to the shelter. We collect data from those shelters for homeless who are visiting it, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. Other question. In your experience, do you have some kind of problem with administrative personal data or tax secret? Sorry, I'm trying to translate it. Confidentiality to access to this data, administrative data, and in this case, how do you solve it? Maybe with a law, a new law, or I don't know. Thank you.
Yes, actually, getting first data was really big issue because, of course, we are pretty close society. We don't trust very much in our society, maybe, and I would say that first data, administrative data, which we received for statistical estimation, was social insurance in 2004, and negotiations to take those data actually took 2 years because social insurance people didn't want to get and to give us data because I guess that they were simply afraid because they were interested to protect those data, and then we are starting to asking data and they were afraid to give us data. The law was here, like the statistical law was always saying that you can use data. Maybe we corrected something in statistical law, but the institution did not want, and there was no punishment for that. So we also involved our government. We did a lot of calculations for government, trying to show how many resources we could save if we could get those data. So at the beginning, it was really a big issue. Some institutions were willing to collaborate, but others were not willing to collaborate, especially when we go to some sensitive data like convicted person, for example. We still have pretty difficult negotiation with them. So, but in principle, yes, we involved our government people, different ministries, but there was, but also what we have maybe very important thing, the law on burden on respondents. So this law says that we cannot use any data, cannot collect any data which is available in any administrative data sources. So this law was new. It was also very much observed. So currently, I would say that we don't have any more problems, but 20 years ago when we started, it was really difficult. And I guess what I could suggest if you having difficulties to involve your other institutions into that, because you can't do it alone. And when different institutions sharing different data, it saves so much resources to the whole country. So usually government are very willingness to cooperate and to help to save those resources.
Thank you. We have other question from Ruth. How do you create from administrative register? How do you create a database in which database you have the relationship among families, like parents and other members, and what kind of problems do you have? Thank you.
Well, currently with married couples, we don't have problem, because when people get married, they automatically data are transferred to our population register. The same goes when child is born. The data automatically goes to our population register. When people are divorced, I don't even need to do something, institutions sharing the data. But at the beginning, as I mentioned, our population register is not new. We created it from scratch after independence. So at the beginning, of course, it was a problem that our birth certificates and marriage certificates was in different institutions, and it was not in our population register. So again, what was done by our government to save resources, because you needed to have all those institutions with archives. If I lose my, let's say, birth certificate, I have to go to those archives to ask to make copy. Everything costs a lot of money to have those buildings with those archives and everything. So one day government decided to digitalize everything and to put all those archives into our population register. So that's why currently all the people who are alive, actually all those data about marriages, about birth, was put in our population register, and currently we rely completely on it, and actually it's pretty simple.
Other question from Gravin. Do you have some method to estimate the non-response rate in registers? I mean, I think it could be from under coverage and also non-response at a variable level, I think. Thank you.
Actually, I would say that there's no non-response in main registers like in population register, because everything. But the problem is that it's not statistical register. Population register is made for administrative purposes. So everyone who brings some documents to our register, they appear. And if I don't bring any document, I do not appear in our register. So yes, for example, as I told about marriages, it could be that I'm married abroad and I didn't bring documents about my marriage abroad to any institution to Lithuania. So I have no data about such marriages abroad. But well, talking about non-responses depends very much on variable, on register, and so on. But I would say that the bigger problem is differences in definitions than non-response actually in registers, because in registers everything is according to documents. So, but maybe we are missing some part, like marriages from abroad. We could also miss some education from abroad. And for example, our education register was created in 2010 maybe. So education is available only since 2010. But you can say that it's undercovered, but actually it's not the purpose of this register to have education before. So it depends on variable, on register, and we're doing it very differently actually.
Okay, thank you. We have from Victor, I think 3 questions. I think you already presented this topic, but anyway, how long have you been using administrative records in your country? And then is there any legal framework that requires residents to register their residence? And if you move from one place to another, is there a legal framework or notification protocol where you must inform where you are living and where you are arriving? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so how long? We are using it for 20 years. We started 20 years ago, but of course, at the beginning, where steps were very slow. And it took a lot of years to do actual analysis, to understand data, because it's a lot of data. And for example, when we talk about population register, I guess it's more than 20 tables. So it's a huge database, and pretty much everything is important. So it really takes time to understand all the structures and how it could be used, definitions, how could you avoid those different definitions, which algorithm are suitable for your country, which not. You also need a lot of to read a lot of law to understand what is in your population register or in another register. So yes, we're using it for 20 years, but at the beginning it was very slow, and now I guess we are used to it pretty much. According to law for declaring place of residence in Lithuania, the law says that you must to declare the place of residence in Lithuania, and a lot of people usually do it because but law don't require you to live in this address. So actually, why it's needed according to law to declare the exact addresses for institutions to find you if needed. For example, if I get a fine while driving too speedy, then institution needs to know my address where to send the fine. So that's why this address is needed, but it says nothing about that I should live under this address. So you can live wherever you want. And also, for example, foreigners, especially from outside European Union, if they want to get a job in Lithuania and enterprise, they have to declare place of residence also in Lithuania in order for authorities to be able to find you. So pretty much everyone declares place of residence. Of course, sometimes problem is with Lithuanians whose declaration expired for one or another reason. So for those people, we need to do some imputation if we decide that, but it's not a big numbers, I would say. Also, when we're changing the address, we can change address of declared place of residence, and but in most cases, people are doing it when they buy apartment, for example. The problem is with young people who do not have their own apartment. They stay registered with their parents pretty often, even so they go to city and go to universities, maybe find a job later on and live renting unofficial apartment in city, but they sometimes stay in declare place of residence in the house of the parents. So yeah, there are certainly we also get critics for doing like that, for relying too much on population register. But for that critic, what we usually answer that it would be well, the difference is not so big, and it would be too expensive to do real census only to check the small difference. And instead, we should pay more attention to our population register and to try to improve quality of our population register, so that to encourage people to register the right address, to give some incentives so that they could, like in Scandinavian countries, they always register where they live. So.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a lot of questions. We don't have enough time to answer all of them, but at least one or two more. And I have a question from Viviana. Was it necessary to carry out some type of validation and consistency of the information for coherence of the data? How this validation work was conducted? I mean, if you conducted some kind of pilot census or something like that. Thank you.
Yes, of course. It's too wide question, actually.
It's
yes. Difficult answer, but I just maybe say that well, as I mentioned, we started using our administrative data 20 years ago. So we did it one by one. So at the beginning, we took only one administrative data source. We understood pretty well what is the difference between definition and what is correlation between our variables and those variables in administrative data sources. So, and there is no one answer about checking, doing all this analysis, because it depends very much on the, it's very country specific. So actually the main thing is maybe to do it one by one. So you take one register, you analyze it as much as possible, you read all the laws related to that. Also you check, because what law requires is not always what is administrative data. For example, maybe law requires to, I don't know, to declare the place of residence, but you don't declare. So it's very important to check how many people never declared place of residence, for example. And so on. The key maybe things is missing variables, missing data, how much of missing data you have, and also, of course, comparison with your statistical service. The key point is comparing your data with the statistical service and to understanding, because sometimes actually you have difference, but you don't know whether the problem is in administrative data sources or problem is in your statistical surveys. So it really took a lot of years to understand it.
Thank you. More questions are coming, but
Okay.
it means that your presentation was so interesting, and but
nice.
at least but at least one more question from Danielle regarding the registration, the address register. I mean, how do you keep the property register updated? It's use and building characteristics and access to the services. And do you have to integrate data sources from local government, or do they have unified records at the national level? Thank you.
Well, you mentioned two registers because it's in our country, it's two different registers. It's real property register and address register. They are two different registers. So, well, I have to say that my country is pretty small, and that is why most things are at national level, because we are small. So real property register is at national level, but also they have all those regional offices. So when I want to declare my house, so for example, if I buy a house, if I build a house, I have to declare it that it's finished, and if I want to do something to bring water into that house, to make other facilities, to bring electricity, I have to, I don't know how to say, but to ask authorities to approve that that this house is suitable for living, and so on. So, and then it goes to register. But again, now, since it goes now pretty well, everything new made buildings appearing in register pretty well, but those buildings who was built long ago, maybe they are not registered pretty well. Maybe I did some construction, maybe my house is demolished, or maybe I reconstructed it and it's pretty new and fancy, but I didn't don't put all this documentation into register. So yes, there are problems, but more or less, if I want to sell my house, I have to make papers correctly. So more or less it's okay. And address register is different. It's currently it's connected to our real property register by address link. But again, since our address register is newly built buildings are connected. Also, those which are making some documentation, those are connected, but not all.
Thank you very much. I mean, I can see Helen raising her hand, and maybe she can jump in and ask you a question.
Yes,
Helen, open your mic, and the floor is yours. Hola, Helen. Bueno, Olga, no sé si Helen...
Tiene el micrófono habilitado Helen Mora, que tenía la mano arriba. Si quiere hacer su pregunta, puede desbloquear el micrófono. Parece que no, Federico.
Disculpen, fue un error.
Okay.
Dale.
Okay. No, it was a mistake.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Lila. It was fantastic, and we really appreciate for you in your time, you sharing your time and your knowledge experience. It is very valuable for us And thank you very much.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you. And thank you to all participants. Gracias a todos los participantes. Nos vemos en el próximo webinar. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Hope to see you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Chao, gracias, Federico.
Gracias, Olga. Gracias a todo el equipo de INE y CEPAL.
Súper. Buen día.
Buen día.